Shalom Braka. As we all can see, hopefully you hear me clearly. I'm in another location, but we're going to use what we got. Now here, you're going to hear about inventors and inventions, such as the electric car. The hydrogen car is what it was first called, attracting water molecules inside, ionized into steam power. This is this construct of the spaceship called the solar sun. Hydrogen power. Frequency is pulled. It's actually a solar disk. But in these mechanisms of inventions as above, so below is where we get these understandings. Everyone's clear? Let's get it.
The Avro car symbolizes the culmination of the second stage of an...
In a world brimming with innovation, certain groundbreaking inventions and their creators have mysteriously faded into obscurity.
Developed the water fuel cell as a retrofit energy systems to conventional cars.
This video delves into the tales of 15 inventors whose potentially revolutionary creations were suppressed, whether by external forces or unfortunate fate. These stories not only question the nature of progress, but also highlight the delicate interplay between invention, power, and history. Number 1. The Ogle carburetor, Tom Ogle. In the 1970s, an inventor named Tom Ogle, without a formal background in mechanical engineering, claimed to have designed a carburetor that could drastically improve fuel efficiency.
Uh-oh. Are they starting this again, y'all?
His invention, known as the Ogle carburetor,
and it's running too lean, so it just spits it back out of the carburetor,
was said to enable a car to travel over 100 miles on a single gallon of gasoline, a figure that far surpassed anything that conventional vehicles could achieve at the time. Ogle's innovation seemed poised to revolutionize the automotive industry and threatened the very foundations of the oil economy. Ogle's system allegedly eliminated the carburetor and fuel pump, instead drawing fuel vapor directly from the tank through a series of vacuum lines. The design was deceptively simple, but according to Ogle, it allowed for complete fuel combustion and, consequently, greatly reduced emissions alongside the improved mileage. This was at a time when fuel prices were spiking due to the oil crisis, which had left the American public desperate for an alternative that could alleviate the strain on their wallets. The story of Tom Ogle is one of tragedy and controversy. After patenting his device and garnering attention from both the media and potential investors, Ogle reportedly turned down an offer of $25 million to sell the patent rights. He insisted on making the invention available to the public to ensure that everyone could benefit from the increased fuel efficiency. However, before his vision could fully materialize, Ogle suddenly passed away under mysterious circumstances at the age of 24. Official reports attributed his death to an overdose of alcohol and prescription medication, but friends and supporters suspected foul play, given the potential financial interests at stake. Number 2. The water-powered car, Stanley Meyer. At the crossroads of genius and incredulity stood Stanley Meyer, an inventor who shocked the world with his assertion of a water-powered car. The concept was simple yet staggering, a vehicle that ran solely on water, a resource far more abundant and environmentally friendly than gasoline.
We're now using the gas processor to utilize the ambient air to ionize the gases, which is now mixing with the water.
Meyer's invention promised a future free from the shackles of fossil fuels, a dream that resonated with the eco-conscious and the economically burdened alike. His water fuel cell, he claimed, could split water into its composite elements of hydrogen and oxygen, which the engine would then burn to generate power, emitting only water vapor as exhaust. Meyer's invention was met with skepticism from the outset.
See where they stole and called it the electric car? They get rid of the people and the masterminds, and then they wait a little while, and then turn it into an entity, commodity for money.
Critics argued that his claims defied fundamental principles of chemistry and physics, specifically the law of conservation of energy. However, Meyer was undeterred. He took his invention on a media blitz, demonstrating his technology with a dune buggy he claimed was powered entirely by his water fuel cell. In a world where oil prices were climbing and environmental degradation was becoming an ever-increasing concern, Meyer's invention seemed like a beacon of hope. His patent described a process that involved a water splitter, which, powered by electricity, separated the water molecules into their constituent parts. This process, known as electrolysis, is well understood, but Meyer's device claimed to accomplish it with an efficiency that was unheard of. If true, it would have been a monumental breakthrough. Number 3. Rife machine, Royal Raymond Rife. In the realm of medical marvels, few have sparked as much debate as the Rife machine, attributed to Royal Raymond Rife.
Now, and this is dealing with frequencies and how you can shatter diseases. This is the higher you in meditation and cleaning thyself of the auras, fasting, prayer, supplication of meditation. These how you bind forces, but they show you through technological machines that doesn't hurt the body. What are they doing now?
An American inventor and early exponent of bioelectric medicine, Rife claimed to have developed a device capable of destroying pathogens, including cancer cells, by vibrating them at their resonant frequency. His machine was said to emit energy at specific frequencies that would resonate with the unique frequencies of pathogens, causing their destruction without damaging surrounding healthy tissue.
I've often thought that living matter might be based on crystals of some kind.
Born in 1888, Rife was a scientist intrigued by the possibilities of treating diseases with frequencies. He designed a series of microscopes that he claimed were powerful enough to visualize viruses, a feat that was not possible with the technology of the day. Rife then purportedly isolated a cancer virus and proceeded to treat it using his frequency device. By the 1930s, Rife was claiming remarkable success rates, suggesting that his machine had the potential to cure cancer and other diseases.
So during the Great Depression, it was robbing people's inventions. Pay attention to the years. 1930s. Yeah, that's mighty close.
Rife's claims attracted the attention of the medical community and the public, with some hailing his device as a breakthrough and others dismissing it as pseudoscience. Despite initial interest and some apparent successes, Rife's work was eventually discredited by the medical establishment. Critics pointed to a lack of rigorous scientific evidence and the implausibility of his theories based on the known laws of physics and biology. The discrediting of Rife's work led to a personal and professional decline. By the 1950s, his laboratory had been destroyed in a fire, his records and machines were lost, and he became a recluse until his death in 1970.
See what happens to the truth? Not only do they just have to discredit your character, they got to destroy your records. That's how powerful true you are. Those that poured out the Spirit and received the Spirit from the Most High. Now they coming up like the cloud machine that makes rain. Remember we talked about that about a year ago? They got that loud machine. Guess what? There ain't nothing new under the sun, but they turn it and use it against you. These people wanted to help you. See the difference?
71. Number 4. Tucker Automobile, Preston Tucker. The story of Preston Tucker and his Tucker 48 automobile embodies the American dream clashing with industrial giants. A visionary in automotive design, Tucker sought to challenge the big three automakers with his advanced and innovative car.
We got the things.
The Tucker
coming
48, also known as the Tucker Torpedo, boasted safety and mechanical features far ahead of its time, including a directional third headlight, a padded dashboard, and a rear-mounted engine. Preston Tucker's vision was to produce a vehicle that not only set new standards in automotive design, but also ensured greater passenger safety during a period when road fatalities were rising. His designs were revolutionary. The Tucker 48 featured a safety chamber for front passengers to dive into before a collision.
Now, as you can see, the inventions that were first created was for us. Nothing new under the solar system, correct? And it had a compartment inside of it. It had a compartment inside of it where for crashes. And the window does certain stuff. So your airbag and all that other stuff, it's nothing new under the sun, but they took these people out and bashed them and said, oh, it's beyond science, which is just saying a miraculous thing that power people can do things, you know. So therefore, keep looking.
A windshield that would pop out upon impact to avoid glass shattering on passengers and seat belts.
Which also makes it safer because it doesn't roll over nearly as easy, unless, of course, you're doing 95 miles an hour on a racetrack.
A safety feature that wouldn't become standard until years later. Despite the ingenuity behind the Tucker 48, Tucker faced immense challenges in bringing his car to market. Financial difficulties were a constant hurdle, exacerbated by negative media coverage and legal battles. In 1949, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission indicted Tucker and his board of directors on charges of mail fraud, conspiracy, and stock fraud. Although acquitted, the damage was done. Tucker's company was forced into bankruptcy, and only 51 cars were ever produced. The demise of the Tucker Corporation is often seen as the result of an overly ambitious entrepreneur running afoul of established industry practices and government regulations. Critics, however, suggest a more sinister reason: sabotage by a fearful automotive industry and a government unwilling to challenge the status quo. Number 5. Cloudbuster.
Here you go. Here you go.
Reich, a name
Here you go, Harp. Controlling the weather to use it against you. Nothing new. See how they took something that's not theirs? Devil people.
Synonymous with controversy in the psychoanalytic and scientific communities, ventured beyond the realm of psychology into the atmospheric with his invention of the Cloudbuster. This device, which seemed to be torn from the pages of science fiction, was designed by Reich in the 1950s to manipulate what he called orgone energy, a life force that he believed could affect both human health and weather patterns. The Cloudbuster, comprised of a set of hollow tubes connected to cables that were immersed in water, was intended to draw orgone energy from the atmosphere, with the goal of inducing rain. Reich, originally part of Sigmund Freud's circle, had taken a divergent path into the study of this orgone energy, which he posited was a physical manifestation of the libido. In his view, this energy was omnipresent and could supposedly be harnessed for a variety of purposes, from combating illnesses like cancer to altering weather conditions. The Cloudbuster was his attempt to apply his theories practically by engaging with the Earth's atmosphere directly. Despite the skepticism of the scientific community, Reich conducted several experiments with the Cloudbuster, claiming success in inducing precipitation in areas plagued by drought. His claims drew the attention of farmers and even some in the government. However, Reich's work with the Cloudbuster also attracted the scrutiny of the Food and Drug Administration, which had long been skeptical of his work with orgone energy. The FDA's investigation culminated in a court order demanding the destruction of Reich's publications and equipment related to orgone energy. Reich was also sentenced to 2 years in prison for contempt of court, as he had violated the injunction against his work. He died in jail, and his Cloudbuster, along with his other inventions, fell into obscurity, dismissed by mainstream science as the fanciful musings of a pseudoscientist.
But now is used to be called the heart machine, and make water, and fire, and earthquakes. Right.
Number 6. Cold fusion. Martin Fleischmann and Stanley Pons. The pursuit of cold fusion was brought to the world stage by Martin Fleischmann and Stanley Pons in 1989, promising a clean, virtually limitless source of energy. The two chemists claim to have achieved a nuclear reaction at room temperature.
This is the latest version that's been running for about 4 days. It has the advantage of condensing, collecting the liquid, and returning it to the bottom so we don't lose it by boiling and evaporation.
A feat that, if proven, would have upended our understanding of physics and transformed the energy landscape. Traditional nuclear fusion, the process that powers the sun, requires immense temperatures and pressures to force atoms together, releasing energy. Cold fusion, by contrast, would occur without such extreme conditions, a tantalizing prospect that drew immediate attention and hope. Fleischmann and Pons conducted their groundbreaking experiments at the University of Utah, where they electrolyzed heavy water with a palladium electrode and reported an excess heat production they could only attribute to a nuclear process. The announcement was sensational. It suggested a future where energy would be both cheap and clean, solving a myriad of environmental and geopolitical problems. However, the scientific community's initial excitement soon turned to skepticism. Other researchers struggled to replicate Fleischmann and Pons's results, a cornerstone of the scientific process. Questions were raised about their methodology and the validity of their findings. The term cold fusion quickly became synonymous with flawed science, and the overwhelming tide of criticism led both to retreat from the limelight. Fleischmann and Pons's work was largely discredited, leaving their reputations tarnished.
Cold fusion is the same thing that they're doing at CERN, colliding dark energy and making dark matter, particles they don't understand. See the hypocriticism, the hypocrites, see the blasphemers. There's something about natural power they don't want us to tap into.
The scientific establishment concluded that their findings were the result of bad science, not bad faith, and cold fusion research was pushed to the fringes, sustained by a small but determined community of scientists who believed the core concept deserved further exploration. Number 7, the electric car. Various inventors.
Here
the
we
electric
go.
car, an invention with roots stretching back to the 19th
What's so new about
century,
your electric
has
hybrid
undergone
car?
cycles of prominence and obscurity, often pushed aside just as it seemed poised to become mainstream. In the early 1900s, electric vehicles, or EVs, were not an uncommon sight on the streets, prized for their quiet operation and lack of noxious fumes, in stark contrast to their gasoline-powered counterparts. However, as the century progressed, the electric car was overshadowed by the internal combustion engine, with its ability to provide longer range and quicker refueling. Despite its early promise, the electric car faced numerous setbacks. Innovators and manufacturers who saw the potential for an automobile powered by electricity were frequently undercut by the established oil industry and auto manufacturers invested in the status quo. The narrative of the electric car is peppered with stories of sudden discontinuations and unexplained withdrawals from the market, fueling speculation about the forces at play behind the scenes. One of the most notable examples of this pattern occurred in the late 20th century with the rise and fall of the General Motors EV1. Hailed as a significant advancement in electric vehicle technology, the EV1 was made available through leases in select markets. But despite positive consumer feedback and a growing cult following...
Now, see, this must have been among the rich and the famous, because I'm born in that, and I don't remember nothing about this car. I'm sad I was around a lot of people in scientific, Nibiru, all kinds of stuff. Grown, older, elder. Man, ain't nobody talking about no EV car. That would have been like Back to the Future to us back then, man. So you see the time warp? You see how they slip mad stuff right in front of our face? We clueless? 20th century now, that's the
GM abruptly
1900s.
ceased production, citing insufficient demand, and went so far as to recall and destroy the majority of the existing vehicles,
We're the 21st
leading to
century.
public outcry and suspicion. Number 8, the Aerowagon. Valerian Abakovsky. Valerian Abakovsky's Aerowagon was a bold foray into the world of high-speed rail travel, a unique and ultimately ill-fated invention of the early 20th century. Conceived as a propeller-driven rail car, the Aerowagon was designed to transport Soviet officials rapidly between Moscow and Tula.
The train you were making up for that colonel. He's stealing a load of pictures. You should hear what they're worth.
Abakovsky, a youthful inventor only 25 years of age, envisioned a future where travel times were significantly reduced by the application of aeronautical principles to railway technology. The Aerowagon, with its sleek design and aviation-inspired propulsion, was a marvel of its time. It was powered by an aircraft engine and propeller, enabling it to achieve speeds that far exceeded those of traditional steam locomotives.
Y'all saw that propeller plane? I worked on E2C2 Hawkeye Why is that important? That's the satellite plane that redirect missiles from 1,000 miles away. It's made by Rolls-Royce. So you was looking at a Rolls-Royce engine, propulsion. Turboprop, that's what it's called.
The test runs were a testament to Abakovsky's vision as the Aero wagon hurtled along the tracks, cutting through the Russian landscape with unprecedented velocity. Despite the promise shown in its initial tests, the Aero wagon's fate was sealed by a tragic accident on its return journey from Tula in 1921. The high-speed rail car derailed, resulting in the deaths of everyone on board, including Abakovsky. The accident cast a long shadow over the concept of propeller-driven trains, and the Aero wagon itself became a symbol of hubris and the perils of overreaching technological ambition. In the wake of the disaster, the Aero wagon was relegated to a historical footnote, a curious episode of early Soviet innovation that ended in catastrophe. The tragedy effectively silenced further exploration into similar technologies for decades, as safety concerns took precedence over the desire for speed. Number 9. Anti-gravity device. Thomas Townsend Brown. Thomas Townsend. Brown's foray into the world of unconventional propulsion systems began in the early 20th century, leading to his pursuit of an elusive technological holy grail, anti-gravity. Brown's experiments centered around what he termed electrogravitics, a concept suggesting that strong electric fields could affect the gravitational pull on a mass. His invention, often referred to as the Biefeld-Brown effect, hinged on the idea that charged capacitors, when suspended in a vacuum, showed a small but measurable thrust in the direction of the positive pole. Brown's work in this field resulted in the development of devices that he claimed were capable of producing this anti-gravity effect. Among them was a saucer-shaped object known as a gravitator, which purportedly levitated when subjected to high-voltage electric charges. The implications of such a discovery were profound, promising a revolution in aerospace technology with the potential for vehicles that could hover and fly without the need for wings or propellers, powered purely by electrical energy. Despite the initial excitement surrounding Brown's claims, his work was met with skepticism by the scientific community. Critics argued that the forces he observed were simply ion wind, a well-understood phenomenon where ions are transferred from one electrode to another, creating thrust. This effect was known to be far too weak to account for the kind of propulsion necessary for anti-gravity flight. Undeterred, Brown continued his research, often in secret, with the support of private investors and military interest. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, he sought to refine his technology and demonstrate its viability. However, conclusive, publicly acknowledged evidence of a functioning anti-gravity device never materialized. The mystery surrounding Brown's research deepened after his death. His experiments on electrogravitics had become the stuff of legend within certain circles, inspiring conspiracy theories and tales of government cover-ups. To this day, the idea of anti-gravity remains a staple of science fiction, and Brown's work is often cited by proponents of alternative propulsion systems. Number 10. The Avrocar, John Frost. The Avrocar, designed by engineer John Frost of Avro, Canada, was an ambitious venture into the realm of vertical takeoff and landing, VTOL, aircraft. During the 1950s, at the height of the Cold War, the concept of a flying, saucer-shaped vehicle captured...
Whoop, can't let that one go by. Where's that? See the CERN machine? That's your jet, that's your TV, that's your laptop, that's everything. Built on that same circumference. That's why it's called television.
Designed by engineer John Frost of Avro, Canada, was an ambitious venture into the realm of vertical takeoff and landing, VTOL, aircraft. During the 1950s, at the height of the Cold War, the concept of a flying...
See the CERN machine? Portals? Turbine? Same on your crown chakra. You levitate, but you say dream, vision, astral projection.
flying saucer-shaped vehicle captured the imaginations of both military strategists and the public.
Used by Avro Aircraft Limited at Malton, Ontario.
That's an electric car transmitting water into hydrogen, turning it into not evaporated steam, but power, therefore transferring and not what? Radiating. It's electrical. How you think the sun hovers over us and all the rest of the constellations? If this is not so, as above, so below, as out, as inner.
The Avro car symbolizes the culmination.
The Avro car was intended to be a part of the U.S. military's arsenal, a testament to Frost's innovative approach to aeronautics, which sought to combine the hovering capability of a helicopter with the speed of a jet. The Avro car utilized a turbine engine to create a cushion of air upon which it would ride, a principle known as ground effect. The saucer was designed to draw in air from the top and expel it below, creating lift and thrust. The initial vision for the Avro car was a craft capable of high speeds and altitudes, but the reality was a vehicle that struggled with
the mother of the Harriet, the jet that can only not take off like with wheels. It's just like a helicopter. It's the mother of it.
Stability and control issues, never achieving more than a few feet of altitude. Despite the significant investment and...
Remember John's prophecy, things looking like stingrays and scorpions, and see, they hit a lot from us.
Numerous test flights, the Avro car could not overcome the inherent technical challenges it faced. The project was eventually deemed a failure, with the prototypes relegated to museum pieces and the dream of a military flying saucer abandoned. However, the Avro car project contributed to the understanding of VTOL technologies and left a legacy in the annals of experimental aircraft design. Number 11, the harmonic code. Edward Lee.
We'll come back to another time for that. Let's marinate on that. I'm BC the Tishvite, BC the Ivet Root. Happy Shabbat. All right, Facebook, YouTube is on and popping. So now you might not see me on Facebook, but I'm somewhere on social media through the portal holes, still speaking and representing the Most High. We warned, we told you. Now it's time to manifest. The best have yet to come. Stay with the Holy Spirit.